Terrarian in the Dungeon, Chapter 86, Fan Fiction, by Azazyel. Please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel for listening and patreon.com/Azazyel to read all of his stories. I had thought that Riveria was a powerful mage, but Alfia completely eclipsed the royal elf in the scale of power and control of her magic. It was like comparing the strength of a level 5 to a base level 1 who just got their Falna. It was truly that big of a difference compared to the times I was near Riveria when she had used spells around me, either on bosses or when I dug through the dungeon to make the tunnel toward the Rivira. But even with Alfia's far greater power, even she had to wear a wry smile at how I seemingly effortlessly dug through the floor of the dungeon and its walls while she would just mutter the soft words of her single-word chant of Lugio to wipe out armies of monsters that would be wiped out by an invisible sound wave that would make all the monsters just explode into a bloody mist as literally, the being's molecular bonds broke apart. It was honestly bullshit. "Why are you an adventurer, Jake Barris?" Alfia finally asked as we entered the safe floor of the 39th floor. We were taking a small break so Alfia could recover her mind after pushing through 20 floors and their enhanced hordes of monsters that made their displeasure at us tunneling through the dungeon very fucking clear. At my scary sister-in-law's question, I could only shrug as I had no definite answer. To become as strong as I can. To protect the people I care for, to experience the finest things in life. Hell, I don't know. Maybe the rush I get when one of my summoned bosses charges after me and I narrowly dodge it, kill it in a counterattack, and then enjoy the loot I get from the bosses. I finished, and Alfia chuckled. Heh. I hoped you had some grand dream like changing Aurelia or killing the one-eyed black dragon, but perhaps a smaller dream is better for a level 2 like yourself. She said somewhat uncaringly as I rolled my eyes. Alfia. Belle and I broke Ace's record. Who broke your records? We leveled up in less than a month with maxed out stats. Given a year or two, we will probably be a level higher or match you at 7. At my reminder, her face twitched, and her closed eyes looked toward me. Don't get arrogant, Jake, the most talented warrior in the world is merely the most talented. Not the strongest, and even the strongest can die to disease, their own hubris, or a monster, or even a god if forced to that extent. Alfia said softly, and I realized she was thinking of how her own familia and the Zeus familia got slaughtered by that dragon. At her warning, I could only nod as God knows what would have happened if Freya wasn't a thirsty slave to her domain and already was pining after my Terrarian soul. What if I came into this world with an ugly and foul-looking soul due to having a connection to the corruption and crimson from Terraria? Leading to her having Otter kill me before I made a name for myself. Not much I could do with Otter even now. If he decided I was to die at that particular moment, other than teleport away to safety. So what made you crawl out of your grave? I asked jokingly, and Alfia actually chuckled as she followed me into the next tunnel that would lead us to the 40th floor. But before she could answer and I could react, a tight grip grabbed the back of my armor and I felt my neck pop as Alfia threw me up the tunnel behind her as a massive spiked worm slammed into and dragged its form across the tunnel I built, with a screeching noise and as it tensed its armored frame. It looked like it almost was instantly growing fur as it sucked in the air, and then it made a large gaseous noise as all those thin hairs shot literally thousands of those hair-like quills into the tunnel. But with a simple, casually whispered Lugio, the hairs were rendered into dust, and a monster with its level 4 ranked durability was only able to resist for a split second before it popped like a watermelon that had a firework stuffed into it. I didn't account for interfloor monsters like the worm well or lambton to become an issue. Alfia muttered, frowning, before she looked at the corners of the tunnel I made before snorting. But if your structures can resist my spells, then the Valgang dragons at the base of the dragon vase won't be able to break through it. She said as she took in how the massive worm thing that was the same size as the desert Scrooge I used to summon did nothing to the actual tunnel itself. Well, at least I am also almost fireproof as well, I muttered as I kept mining and replacing the walls with tunnels as we headed down towards the next safe zone on the 50th floor. I understood that Alfia was a woman of few words typically, so I didn't bug her as she was actually going above and beyond and hovering over me to make sure I didn't get munched on by the hordes of monsters between floors. As each floor we went down, the hordes got thicker in numbers, with the stronger monsters coming in their variant and aberrant forms, and at seeing the solid gem bones of the aberrant Spartoi warriors that were super strong skeleton monsters, I knew I couldn't defend myself down at these levels at all. As even a stick of dynamite did nothing but blow the monsters away a good bit, due to the force of the explosion. So what do you need on the floor infested by Valgang dragons? She asked after another hour of digging and dealing with the hordes on each floor, and it had gotten to the point in which even she had to take a break after clearing a floor's horde each time. I chuckled as I mentally reviewed my mental list, and at that chuckle, Alfia gave me a dirty look as she knew I was going to milk having a nanny keep the armies of massive dragons off my ass. As I was for damn sure not coming back down here without another level 6 or 3 because these monsters were just too dangerous for my pre-hard mode weapons, summons, and methods to deal with. So I need enough ore to make, let's say, a good 500 or so ingots of hellstone. I need a lot of obsidian, and lastly some of the vines that grow down here near the lava for some potions and magical stuff. I said, with Alfia visibly taking a deep breath with her voluptuous chest rising and falling before she blandly told me to get to work as we broke into the floor, and with an irritated whisper of Lugio, the very dungeon shook as the invisible sound wave pulped the army of dragons and monsters that met us on the floor.